Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
On the brink of elimination, the Toronto Maple Leafs channeled Jordan Belfort, aka played by Leo DiCaprio in the classic movie Wolf of Wall Street, and said, "We're not leaving. We're not fucking leaving. The show goes on." And that's exactly what happened.
5, baby.
The
We're going
show
home.
goes on, and this show goes on because we still have shows to do because the Leafs are still alive and kicking, just barely, but still alive. There's a pulse there. I'm Fouad Suleiman. Welcome to Game Over Toronto. Alongside me is Armaan
Pantaki. I'm so relieved.
Armaan, your
this was just
never wavered.
a weight off the back because holy shit, if we lost today and got swept and didn't win a single game in the second round since April 30th, 2004, we all thought the embarrassments were over.
Man, oh yeah.
Much dread going into this game.
Dude, it was something. We Robert, our producer Robert texted us in the group chat and said, "How we feeling?" And I said I was mad. I was pessimistic. Because that's my disposition.
I'm ready for the
unwavering.
I'm ready for the reverse sweep. We're doing it. We're going
back
home.
Good.
We're
you're
winning
all
game
the way
5.
in, eh?
Yeah, you gotta believe.
So me, I do. I just need to get there. I need to see them get to 3-2. If they win the game against Toronto, I'm like, okay, now it's fucking go time. But right now it's like, man, 3-0 is. I may be a negative Nancy here, but listen, a 3-0.
I mean, it's
3-0
realistic.
There's a reason why 4 times in the history of the world, and 4 times. The last one was 9 years ago. And then people say, "Oh, the Leafs did it." Yes, during World War II, the Leafs did it. Okay?
1940s.
It was World War II. So it's a very, very, very tough thing to do, and I hope they do it. I really do. It's just I have to see it to believe it, because going down 3-0, I kind of lost faith in these guys. Still, we're gonna talk about it. I kind of lost.
We will talk about it.
I did lose.
We'll get into it.
A little bit of faith in these guys, but yeah. Before we get into everything and go on many different tangents about our insecurities about this team, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
Get in on the action and make your bet with Sports Interaction. Every hit, every shot, every goal from all your favorite teams and players, with competitive odds, the best in live and play, and more ways than ever to get into the game. Like Minute Madness, our exclusive game with so many opportunities to win by the minute. So download the app using the QR code below if you're in Ontario, or you can head over to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN to get started. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. And please remember that it's 19 plus and to play responsibly.
All right, welcome back again. I don't know where to start here. So when the game started, I felt like they weren't a real desperate team. Like, the first period wasn't so great. I wasn't happy about it. I wasn't too happy about it. I felt like I want to see some kind of real fight. I want to see some desperation. I didn't quite see it in the first period.
Yeah, that's probably fair to say. There wasn't a ton of urgency. There wasn't a ton of shots on net in the first period in general from either team. But I honestly thought they played pretty well in the first period. Aside from that flurry
they didn't allow a goal,
the end,
so hey, they didn't allow a goal, so
aside from the penalty, really, and even the penalty, I think that was the Hall penalty, if I'm not mistaken. But that was sort of a weird. The stick broke, but it didn't look like that much of a cross check. When I looked at it back, it sort of looked like
I don't know. That's just looking like a shitty stick. Just broke broke itself.
I don't really blame Hull for that, and I don't blame the refs for calling it either. But that's really the only chances we gave up was on that power play, and honestly, it was a pretty good penalty kill for the most part. It was really smart penalty killing by Marner when he skated it out and then killed about 40 seconds with possession. I thought the Leafs played smart hockey in the first period, not super urgent. And as a Leafs fan in an elimination game, where it's you're down 3-0, it didn't inspire less necessarily this incredible fight from the Leafs per se, but it wasn't bad hockey. And that's kind of what I come down to is want to see fight, but I also want to see them play composed hockey. And I thought the first period was fairly composed. Like, I thought they were really good defensively. They took chances offensively. I thought our stars finally kind of came through today. They've been getting chances. They've been getting looks in.
Couple of the stars came through today. We'll talk about that.
But we'll talk. I want to talk about, like, before we get into it, the discourse in Leafs media and Leafs fans prior to this game.
Yeah,
and it purely came down to the core four not showing up. They have 0 goals heading into this game in the series, and we're down 0-3, and that's
I don't think that's an unfair. I don't think it's unfair criticism, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not an unfair criticism, but there is, I think, merit towards I would say the neutral onlookers of this team, and then looking at advanced stats and being like, they are getting their chances. Because I saw a lot of people very mad at Matthews and Marner's comments about them getting good looks in, and I totally understand why from a Leafs perspective, a Leafs fan perspective, because it's not what you want to hear. No one wants to hear that shit ever. Like, it's so stupid that they even said it on a it's gonna bite you in the ass.
To be fair, I don't think anybody would be. I don't think anybody would be happy with anything they said. If they came on, if they came on and said, I think they'd be everybody would say, God, how could they say that?
You saw people mad at Nylander saying he's gonna have fun tonight, and you don't really win in that scenario. But I think there is merit. I think there is merit to saying that the core four in this series hasn't necessarily played badly. They haven't converted. They've been generating enough shots.
Game 2 was rough, though. Game 2 was rough.
Game 2 and 3 were rough, but they're not hitting the net is more the issue. They're not converting. And Matthews is getting into the same spots he did in the regular season and in round 1 versus Tampa, but his shots don't look dangerous. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, there was a 2-on-1 in the first period, I believe, with him and Yarncroke, and Matthews looks him off, and that's the right move. Matthews is the scorer there, but he shoots it, and it goes a mile wide.
Allegedly the scorer.
It goes a mile wide, and I think there's some concern maybe that there's a nagging injury, something like that. But whatever it is, they might be getting into the correct positions, but they didn't score for 3 games, and that is what sort of iced us for those 3 games. No matter how good we played, we didn't convert.
It doesn't matter. If you're relying... it didn't matter. Because if you're relying on David Kampf and Eric Gustafsson and whomever scored, Sam Lafferty, you're cooked. I mean, those are the guys that brought you there. Like, I'm not an MBA. I'm not an investment banker. But $40+ million for now 2 goals in the second round...
It's not great. It's not great.
That's not a good investment, right? That's $20 million a goal.
And it's completely fair to be like, the results haven't been there.
No.
They need to be better. But I also think it's also fair to look at these chances and say they're not playing very poor hockey. They're not converting on their chances, and they're not excelling, and they're getting into the same positions they did in the regular season. If there was the Megan Chayka tweet that went viral in terms of the goals per game, expected goals per game, shot attempts per game, scoring chances per game, shots from the slot per game, and then points per game. And they're all relatively equal from regular season round 1 to round 2, except the results. And so they're like, the process is there. The process has been there for a while. It's just they're not converting. And whether or not that's a mentality thing or it's an injury thing, it doesn't matter. It needs to get fixed. You know what I mean? And like, to me, that was like the biggest thing going into this is you might have the process down, and Matthews might say, hey, we're getting good looks in. Just score. This is it. This is it. You have to score, right? And
hang the process banner. Hang the banner and said, we got all the expected goals. You can hang that banner up there. I think Steve has been saying this in podcasts, and I think everyone's been saying this. Like, nobody gives a shit about expected goals, right?
Yeah, or when it comes down to it.
The server to winner meter, right? The last couple games, I thought they were really low on the give a shit meter. All right, like the give a shit meter was like going on empty there for the core four. This one, we saw 2 of them showing up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they got our 2 goals.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, for me, it's not necessarily an issue of them not giving a shit in the past. It's an issue of them maybe getting nervous. To me, that was nerves. It's like you're in the same spot as you were every game in the regular season, every game in round one, and you're just flubbing the shots. We had something along the lines of a very close amount of shot attempts per game as the Panthers, but
Yeah.
the amount that actually hit the net were drastically lower. We were missing shots consistently. And Cam Turon is a great follow on Twitter, but he posts like analysis, and he's generally a neutral observer. He used to actually work on the Leafs, but he posted an analysis of games 1 to 3, and I highly recommend it. It's very much a statistical look and an eye test look as well of what exactly went wrong. And he looks at entries, exits, and it all looks relatively okay. It's just you're not hitting the net. Is that down to luck? I don't think you can really say it's down to luck when it happens 8 years in a row, right? Like,
No.
that's no longer a thing. Is it down
It
to
ain't
nerves? Potentially, but we can't.
It's
All
the
we know is
yips.
the result isn't there, right? So
Yeah, it's the yips. It's a mental block. And I was ready. I was on the bandwagon, and I still am, that like if they were to get swept in this series, then I would say I think you gotta make some serious changes to the core. Like 2 of those guys could be back, because you can keep saying every year, this time they're gonna get it. This time they're gonna get their mind right, and they're gonna get their confidence right, and it's all gonna go in. But we don't have the patience. Like we don't have the luxury of patience anymore.
yeah,
right?
you don't. And
Like, 2 of those
we've
guys,
been patient. We've been patient.
Austin and Willie, this is the last season going into this is their contract year, right?
Next year's the contract year, yeah.
Sorry, yeah, 2024, right? So going into 2024, that's their contract year. So if they were to get swept, and even if they lose in 5, honestly, they lose the next game, I'm still going to be of this opinion, because I just don't think you can come back with the same 4 guys. I think 2 of those guys got to go, right? Like, you can't commit and make it $50 million for, 1 playoff game, 1 second round win, right?
We said it earlier in the year as well. Like, what is a success for the Leafs? Is it just getting past the first round and then getting stopped? No, we all said no. Like, that's not successful, Obviously the goal is the cup, but success means you kind of at least compete in the second round. Like, it would be a failure if we lost.
I'm not like, I'm not one of those fans that it's like,
we're not unreasonable.
I don't the 1967 chirp never really got to me, because winning the cup is extremely hard, right? Like, to not win a cup, a lot of teams across all sports have not won a championship in longer, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, Vancouver's been around like what, since 1968, 1970? That I might be, somebody got to tell me that, but they never won a cup, right? Sorry, Game of Vancouver, but there's a lot of teams that have never seen a Stanley Cup. Like, any team from Minnesota has never seen the cup, right? So
it was 1970.
That's not a chirp. 1970, I was right. Oh, the second time I was right. But my point is that, yeah, the cup, to expect a cup every year is kind of asinine. Like, our biggest, baddest nemesis, the scary Boston Bruins, they won it 12 years ago now, right? Like,
yeah.
In all this time, they've been a dominant, scary team. They haven't gotten it done, right? And they've been to 2 finals, but still, that's how hard it is.
Yeah, and like, there's a comment in the chat right now from Dejected Soup. Eastern Conference Final is a result I'd be kind of okay with. Not satisfied, but I won't want to fire everyone, and trade everyone like normal. And that's sort of the vibe I get from most of Leafs Nation, where it's like, make the 3rd round and then we're good to go. And if they do that now, if they pull off a reverse sweep, you're keeping everyone. Like, you are. You just
yeah. That, because if they pull off a reverse sweep, like, that means that they huge. Fundamentally changed who they are.
Team. Yeah.
Right? Like, they are fundamentally changed, both mentally and physically. Sheldon Keefe has just become Scotty Bowman. Like, it's some serious magic.
It'll take a miracle, and that's what I'm hoping on.
No,
we believe in the miracles.
Listen, if they win this series and go on to the conference finals, keep everyone. I will take back every bad thing I ever said. And I tweeted this out. If they force Game 7, I am painting my entire head blue. Okay, this whole bald head.
I'm excited for it.
Painting it all blue. So you guys better hope that they come back and force it to 7. Okay, so for the 7th game over, win or lose, I will have a blue head, just like the guys in the Blue Man Group. I might make it a white beard, but we'll see.
Yeah, and if they do it, it'll be off of the backs of our stars and Joseph Wall, which we will get to as well. But today,
yeah.
our top 5 guys in expected goals were William Nylander, Matthews, David Kampf, and then John Tavares and Mitch Marner. And our 2 goal scorers were obviously William Nylander and Mitch Marner. They kind of came up and showed up, and in a 1-goal game, that's pretty huge. The first goal, we got a bit lucky. We've been asking for it this entire season, or in this entire series, sorry, that we just haven't been getting bounces, and we made good on the one bounce we pretty much got today, and it kind of bounces off the post, off of Bobrovsky and into the back of the net, and that's what you need, and that comes from a power play where Bunting got smacked in the face. He's been pretty effective as well, getting mixed up into it. He took a high sticking penalty, which honestly should have been 4 minutes because he was bleeding.
He wasn't bleeding enough. Okay, there has to be a certain level of bleeding. He has to look like, he's got to look like he's a wrestler and bladed to get it. Like he's got to look just like a crimson mask.
Like I was surprised. It was kind of weird, but nonetheless.
I think the bleeding rule is very strange. And it's like, yes, our player is cut and bleeding. We get a 4-minute power play.
I'm sure players like bite their lip when they get hit in the mouth just to get the blood out. I was saying this to my buddy. 100% true.
So a lot of wrestlers, like a lot more old wrestling, but they used to to make the matches look more dramatic. If they were hit in the head with a chair, they would intentionally blade for the show and then have blood coming down. And I'm like, I'm sure a player has done that at some point. Like in the history of the NHL,
they do it all the time.
Players
who've
done it.
I'm sure they do it all the time.
Just like Ric Flair, just woo, bleeding.
We scored, and it's funny. Like right before we scored on that same power play, it was I think Marner at the top of the zone had the puck, and he got pressured very lightly, and he ended up losing the puck and having to scramble back to get it. Right? Do you remember that? And I was about to go nuts if we didn't score on that power play, because that's like unacceptable. Especially for a guy like Marner, where everyone's kind of looking at him.
Dude, that would have been
an elimination game. If we lost the zone and then just couldn't get back into it, I would have been so pissed off.
Luckily, if that turned into a goal, I'm telling you, that would have been. He would have been. He would have been traded. He would have had to been traded. That would have been worse than anything Jake Gardiner ever did. And obviously, people already have that inherent distrust and kind of acrimony towards Mitch Marner when he plays badly in the playoffs. So that going in would have been an absolute just nightmare for the discourse.
Yeah, honestly. And before the penalty even got called, we had a 4-on-1 and then barely got a shot off. It was the Nylander to Tavares play, but then the backchecker got there in time. This is what pissed me off a lot in that first period, or first and second period. When you get those chances, you have to make good on them, because especially given the past 3 games when everyone is talking about how your core 4 are, being in the right position and just flubbing those chances and those opportunities. And then we had a 4-on-1. It was a fantastic chance, and we didn't even get a shot off. And then you go onto the power play, and Marner loses the zone. That Nylander goal just completely changed the game for me. It was very much a lucky goal, but I thought after that, it was a different game from the Leafs. You know what I mean? I thought after that there was some life to them, and they didn't really sit back and just turtle with the 1-goal lead. But they really started ramping up. And that is something that I think doesn't happen if Nylander doesn't get that lucky bounce. So there is an element of luck associated with this, and that does change the game.
It's hockey. But luck is a big part of it.
That's a part of it. But,
and
it just, they scored.
To be honest,
I was so glad.
Yeah, but let's get to it, because this game do not think would have been won. The first star, second star, and third star, it's got to be Joseph Woll. Okay.
Oh, he was excellent.
Listen to me. Listen, Armaan.
Excellent.
I'm saying this right now. Chat, I'm saying this right now. If Joseph Woll is not the starter for the remainder of this series, they need to cancel Sheldon Keefe's key card to get into the building. Just don't even tell him he's fired. Just
Are you saying even if Samsonov is back?
Yeah, put him back in. You got to ride.
Really?
He's looked more composed than Samsonov has. He's looked more composed than Samsonov has in this.
But Samsonov hasn't been an issue, and Samsonov was so good in round 1. But
I agree. But he's been hurt in this.
I know. I agree.
He's letting
don't play Samsonov if he's hurt.
And I don't think he's going to be healthy right away. Like, he let in a couple of really, really bad ones this series. I'm not saying he's bad, but you can only play
Yeah.
one goalie. And Joseph Woll, in the time that we have seen him play out, now we're talking what, like, I don't even know. I'm pulling this out of my butt, but like 7 regular season games, 8 regular season games, had like a gigantic winning streak in the AHL. Joseph Woll does not ever look nervous. He doesn't ever look like he doesn't know where he is.
Super composed.
I don't think I ever see him give up a terrible rebound. Like, that's one thing. When the puck is going towards him, you don't get that like internal heart attack. Yeah, you don't get that heart attack every time, a puck goes towards him. Where Samsonov and Murray, they're kind of scrambling. Sometimes they lose where they are. Like, we saw a couple of those goals. Obviously, the Barkov goal in game 2, which was kind of the goal at the side of the game in that horrendous second period, that was just, injured or not, that was one of the worst goals I've ever seen anybody let in. That was almost as bad as the Vesatoskala one. Where,
that's not that bad. It's so horrible.
From 120 feet across the ice. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, that's the kind of thing. To have a goaltender so calm and so composed that just swallows up every rebound, that does something for your forwards. Like, that gives them
100%,
right?
100%. And he let in one goal, and it was on the power play. I think there were 3.2 or 3.02 expected goals against. One goal against. Like, he was excellent today. He was phenomenal. I thought really he made no mistakes. Like you said, he swallowed everything up. He stayed square to the shooter. He saw every puck from the point with traffic. Really a solid game.
Like, even when he did let a rebound, like, I never felt nervous.
He recovered very well. And also, shout out to the Leafs defenders today. They did a really good job. Because there were some plays where, a rebound came out, and it was sort of no one knew where the puck was going to go. But the Leafs did such a good job today of cleaning up that net front and tying up sticks. Like, they didn't let the Panthers get an easy shot off a rebound. And that's nice to see. And like you said, Schenn, like, there was that play, I think, at the very end of the game where he went for a shot block on Verhaeghe, but Verhaeghe, like, waits him out, and then Schenn just dives and hits the puck. He dives and gets the puck with his stick. And very composed play from all of our defenders today, which is very nice to see. Yeah. Because we've had some, like, that game 3, that Brody-McCabe pairing on that Duclair breakaway goal. Like, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing?
Man, McCabe's been tough this series, man. Like, he's been a rough watch, man, this series. Today he was good.
No mistakes. Like, there was that I was really worried when Gio broke his stick on the PK.
Oh.
When he was trying to clear the puck. It's like not his fault at all, but it's like, of course that happens. Like, that's the biggest Leaf thing to happen, but they didn't score on it. So shout out to Joseph Woll. Shout out to our defenders who made his life a little easier. It was a really excellent defensive game.
I mean, to me, the silver lining of this series, no matter what happens, like, obviously we want them to go in reverse sweep. Yeah. The silver lining either way is that I think the Leafs have the goalie of the future and the goalie of the present.
Oh, yeah.
They have their starter. I think they do.
And cost-controlled starter. Like,
people say sample size. People say sample size. What better sample size is there with, like, back against the wall in the second round of the playoffs? Like, that's where guys are kind of made right now. Like, that's where careers are made. Like, what higher leverage situation can you put him in other than Game 7?
An elimination game, as your first starting playoff game. Like, not even just starting in the NHL, starting in your professional career, because he didn't play playoff games for the Marlies. Like, this is his first professional
Yeah, you're right,
NHL or professional playoff game, and it's in an elimination game against a very high octane offensive team. And, he's coming in, the guy's hurt. There's really no backup. It's an injured Matt Murray, essentially.
No, I think
that is a clutch gene. That is a clutch gene. Like, that is amazing. That's
some guys have it. Like,
that's such a pressure situation in Toronto, of all places, to get thrown into that situation. He handles it with such composure. It's incredible. Like, for such a young guy. And he signed a 3-year, $770,000 contract.
That's cool.
And that's not his ELC. That's not his entry-level contract. He signed such a team-friendly deal. We now have him for 2 years at $766,000. Incredible. Like, that is value. And we need that. We're such a cap-strapped team. We need stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And so Joseph Woll has my heart for the next.
He has our heart. I mean, look, it's gonna be a tough. It's like now, they had the confidence to put him in. I mean, obviously, even a scared and nervous Joseph Woll is better than an absolutely banged up, destroyed Ilya Samsonov. Like, I don't think he's gonna get healthy for the rest of the series.
Murray.
And Murray,
Yeah.
like at least the series, like what in the next week, I don't think he's gonna be 100%. So
we don't know what the injury is either.
We don't, and they're not going to tell you,
right? Like they're not going to tell us
because hockey players are like can be borderline criminals and just whack him in his whatever's injured, right? So
and Samsonov has been labored this entire playoffs as well. Like even though he played fantastically against the Tampa's the Lightning,
yeah,
he's been injured for a while. Like you see him wincing every time he stretches out that left leg.
If a guy is literally limping as he gets up,
it is kind of scary.
It's probably not a good idea to have him play. I wouldn't imagine, right?
Especially if you have Joseph Woll playing well. The issue is, and this is the biggest issue, you don't have that like runway to be like, okay, until Joseph Woll has a bad game. Right? So it's risky
if you have
either
the bad
way.
game, you're
like,
screwed
you know
anyway.
You're done. You're done. Yeah, right?
You're done. It's do or die.
So it is do or die now, and we're putting a lot of trust in Joseph Woll, but I think he 100% deserves it. If it's Murray and Woll, 100% play Woll the entire series. If Samsonov is not just healthy enough to play, but 100%, then I'm a little iffy. But still play Woll, I think, for now. Like I'm sort of.
Let me hit you with a scenario. Let me hit you with a scenario then. So
go for it.
Let's say we get to Game 7. My head's painted blue. It's in Toronto, and they say Ilya Samsonov is healthy and good to go. Let's just say he is healthy-ish because nobody's healthy. Who are you going with? And that's to the chat too. Woll or Samsonov?
Yeah, I think you go with Woll if he gets you to Game 7. You know, I think it's the same. I think it's the same thing with.
I guess it's a chicken and the egg
Boston,
scenario, right?
Right. It's the same thing with Boston, and what killed them is they didn't trust what's his name, Swayman, to go in, even though he showcased that ability during the regular season until Game 7.
When he was good. He was okay. Yeah, he was decent.
And he was fine, but like if he played Game 5 or 6, when Ullmark was clearly laboring something, he said after the series was over that he had an injury, and that's the thing that kind of burned them is like this mentality that you have to go with the starter regardless type of thing.
No. It's do or die. There's no time for egos. There's no time for whose contract is coming up, who's
if we get to 7,
more money, who's played more games. Don't give a shit. It's about, can you win us the game? Who gives us better percentage chance to win the game? That's it. That's the end of story. And I think a lot of people agree with us. People are saying Woll, and I'm all the way there. Hey, if he plays bad in Game 5, well, we're all gone anyway. So, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm making a prediction for the offseason. You know what's going to happen at the draft? Kyle Dubas special. Going to trade Matt Murray and the Boston pick to Chicago for their pick.
Okay.
For one of their seconds. No, for one of their seconds. Sorry, for one of their seconds.
I thought you were going to say for Bedard.
No, Bedard.
Like,
sorry.
Are you insane?
Jesus Christ, what? No, I didn't
that
lose
would be
my
the
mind
biggest
quite
fleece
just yet.
Of life. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking he's going to trade down for their second. Kyle Dubas special, like the Mrazek special.
Honestly, the question is like we're gonna get into this in the offseason talk, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on it here. But Murray, like you actually have a lot of leverage because the buyout's not too bad, and if you retain half the salary, like Murray for 2.3 isn't a bad con. Like I don't think we have to give up assets
it's not worried
to send him, but we'll talk about that when we need to in the
offseason
one. But are
you worried about the style of play? Because I was saying this now, like the Leafs have not scored 2 goals since what? Game
more than 2
4
goals
of the Tampa series?
Yeah.
More than 2 goals. More than 2 goals. That's what I meant. More than 2 goals since what? Game 4 when Kerfoot scored the overtime goal.
It's tough to say. Yeah, I think you are right.
They're playing like the New York Islanders, and they're not built to be the New York Islanders, right? Like they got all their resources, all their chips are in with the 4 high-end superstars. Now, they're playing great defensively now, but, I'm a little bit worried that they're not going what brought them to the dance, right? Like, is their defense going to be their calling card, even though these 4 dudes are, like, pretty much own half the franchise, right?
Is it fair to say that, let's say Matthews, like, we've hit, like, 5 posts this series. If those posts aren't posts and they go in, are we still saying the same thing? That's what I see. It's like we're getting chances on the rush, we're getting chances on the cycle. We're
Mhm.
generally doing an okay job of generating shot attempts, but those shot attempts have not converted into anything. They barely converted into shots on goal over the first 3 games. You know, um, it's not so much the style of play that I think I have an issue with, especially because, in my opinion, we did outplay Florida in games 1 and 2. It's the
Yeah.
it's the finishing. That's the biggest. That's what's gonna ice us, if anything. Like Florida is such a good team at converting on, firstly forcing you to make a mistake and then converting on that mistake,
Yeah.
and we have not been good at that. Like in terms of turnovers, our turnovers have been much more costly, and that's credit to Florida. They're excellent at it. That's
Absolutely.
their bread and butter, right? Do I think we're playing more defensively minded than we did with Tampa? I don't really think so, because Tampa was a much tighter series.
Yeah.
I think Florida opens up that neutral zone a lot more than Tampa does, right?
Yeah,
Which allows
it is a
for
lot
more
more up and
rush
down
plays,
for
right?
sure.
It's so much more up and down. But at the same time, I do see what you're saying in that, like, it's tough against a team like Florida because they are so aggressive. They're so
Yeah.
aggressive. And with our team, which is a little more focused on the collapse, or like for example, our second goal today was Marner at the top of the zone shooting it through traffic. We scored like that, specifically Marner against Tampa
Yeah.
several times.
Yeah,
And we have
it's been
not seen a
points. It's
shot. We have not seen a shot like that from Marner this series, essentially, up until now.
yeah.
And
Yeah, like all the goals. I mean, that was what they scouted out of Vasilevsky. Like they kind of knew that that was kind of his
yeah,
Achilles heel, really. And he was injured, and Bobrovsky looked like he just went into like a fountain of youth and just became like a machine again. But in the playoffs, I find that those shots are just the. It's just isn't is it not a better course of action just to throw shit at the net? Obviously, you want to get good shots,
yeah, of
but
course.
you want to
But they
throw as much shit at the wall as you can, right?
they have been throwing a lot of perimeter shots, but like the issue I think with it is to get that set up is you need that forward to come high, right? And the way Florida I think plays in their defensive zone is they play super aggressive to the point. And you saw it today.
Yeah.
There was a blue line pass to Liljegren for a one-timer that got stick checked and resulted in a chance against.
Oh yeah,
That's the issue, right? Like if you have Marner up high and you do a blue line pass and it gets picked off, you're pretty screwed because they are a fast team. Florida's
they're
a
fast,
fast team.
and they will pounce.
They will win
They
that
will
race.
pounce. Like they will pounce. No pun intended.
Yeah, they will
On
win that race.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think resulted in that goal is because we hemmed them in for 40, 50 seconds before that. That was a long cycle game. And so we saw them sort of collapse and turtle into a less aggressive team on that possession, which allowed Marner to go high and get that shot off. And that is a really good shot for Marner to take because Marner is incredible at putting pucks and getting them actually on goal when there's traffic in front. He's so good at it. It's impressive. And it finally, like, the opportunity finally came. They took it and it worked. And those are the types of finishing opportunities that I want to see more out of these stars, is recognizing when those plays are available and actually hitting the net. Like Matthews, again, he's been generating shots. He's
Yeah.
been
Like
generating
that
shot
shot's off.
attempts,
I
I should
I would
say.
not be shocked if his wrist is bugging him, man.
Yeah, right. Like his shot attempts are there. Like the
But
number is high. They're just
they're
shit
not
shot
dangerous.
attempts.
They're not
They're not dangerous. He's missing by like a mile, and like even like in game 3, he
Like
took
he
a
looks
shot.
like Jake McCabe shooting out there. Like, and it's not Austin
Yeah,
Matthews. Like, you know what I'm saying?
exactly,
Like,
right? Like it just doesn't look dangerous. And if that's a mental thing, if that's an injury thing, it doesn't matter. You just need to figure it out.
So Mitch Marner, quote here from David Alter, tweeted this: does a pressure dynamic change after a win? Marner, going on the theme of not listening to the media, who cares? We're focused on ourselves. We got to keep this effort up and make sure we bring it back to Toronto. Well, I mean, he already brought it back to Toronto, but whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, people are kind of thinking Marner is kind of being a little, I think that's the only way the only disposition he needs to have. He
It
can't.
doesn't really, yeah, it doesn't matter what he says, in my opinion. Like, I don't care what he says to the media or
No.
it's about his own process, and like it's very clear that like Nylander is a completely different breed to like everyone else in the room, where he's just like he's at his best when he's like, I don't really care.
He's
And
unbothered. Yeah.
yeah, and the thing is, like, every person is different. Everyone will be motivated by different things. Some people need that kick in the ass. Like, so, like with Nylander, he's like probably the Leaf that gets disciplined the most by the coach, and I think that's deliberate because that's what gets him into gear. Because he's more of a like lackadaisical. I'm not gonna, you know. And I don't think Marner is like that type of person as well. So
Yeah.
it's sort of, I don't know. It's sort of a give and take scenario. I don't really pay attention to the media quotes from Leafs players, because if you do, you're just gonna be frustrated. I mean, we've seen 8 years of this.
Also,
we've seen 8 years of this. Like,
when was the last? When was the last interesting quote from a
hockey player?
From a hockey player, especially a Leafs player. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
We're not talking about PK Subban here, or
yeah. I don't pay attention to any of that. Like, I try not to, at least. Like, I understand why people get mad at it and stuff like that, and obviously don't make excuses. You know, we want to see the team angry. We want to see them playing with passion. But that's on the ice. I don't really give a shit what they say behind the doors, you know?
Speaking of angry, I'm going to transition this here. We just saw at the end of the game, I literally, okay, so normally my process is, soon as the game's done, shut it off, and I just get ready to do the stream. But I saw the scrum came right away, thankfully, and I had to watch it all. I think
it's slimy.
Listen, I'm telling you though, like this series, the longer it goes, it's gonna be acrimonious. The Leafs better be ready to throw hands. They better be ready to get punches. Better be ready to slash. Like, it's lawless, especially now, as you know, the stats show less penalties get called. It literally becomes like a street fight beyond game 5 of a series. So if this series is going to go on, it's going to be
me off,
a physical war. Yeah.
100%. What pisses me off is the refs just kind of like, they didn't split it up when they should have. Like, you know, like Tkachuk had Marner in a headlock. Marner wasn't doing anything. Like, he wasn't even fighting back. And Tkachuk straight up glove on punches him like 3 or 4 times before the ref is like, all right, you've had enough. You're not going to call a penalty. You're not going to call a suspension on that, obviously. It's not suspension worthy, in my opinion. But the game's over, so there's no penalty. Just get in the fucking way. Don't let it happen. Why are you making it okay for them to do that?
Their shift is over. They're not working a second after the whistle. It blows
my mind. It blows my mind, because it's allowing them to get away with shit that they shouldn't be getting away with. If that was at the end of the first period, we'd be starting the second on a power play. So if it's the end of the game, don't let him do that. It's not suddenly legal. Like, it pisses me off so much.
I mean, I try not to lend any, because look, the refs pretty much useless. They're just there to throw a little bit of spot, give people power plays. They're not actually really refereeing. So in my mind, look, this is the game. It's partially sport, partially hand-to-hand combat, street fighting. So the Leafs, if they want to win, they got to be good at street fighting. They got to be getting dirty as well. In my opinion, they got to find a way. I don't like it. I don't like this part of the game. I want to watch skill. I want to watch great defensive play, great goaltending. I don't care for this kind of.
Do you want to see Mitch like throwing hands with Tkachuk?
No,
like, he's gonna get his fucking face kicked in.
You got to get then Shannon's got to become.
But everyone goes with a person. That's the thing. Like, it's a scrum. They get everyone involved, so then they all pair up, and Tkachuk goes after Marner, and then starts punching him in the face, and the refs are just sitting there like, oh yeah, that looks fine.
Yeah, it's the Leafs.
You know the Department of Player Safety is not going to do anything about that, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. That's not a suspension worthy.
The Department of what? Department of what? Is that what DOP stands for? I don't know what that
we couldn't tell, eh? Yeah,
but I want George Peros' job. That's just
you could just sit back and be like,
literally,
right,
I made the
my
point.
job is done.
George Peros was a slimy, like, he was like a goon his career, right? Like, hiring him to be the head of the player, like the Department of Player Safety, is like hiring Walter White to be the head of the DEA in Breaking Bad. Like, the fuck? You're hiring the worst offender to be the head of the FBI, basically? The fuck? What? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I don't want to make sense of the NHL, because you can't make sense.
You can't.
The senseless, right?
There was a quote from another game. I forgot which player it was, but he was talking about a goaltender interference call, and he was like, "Yeah, I have no idea what what a goaltender interference is.
It
So
might be
it's
a
like
quote.
there's
I
no
know the
point.
quote, but
Yeah. But anyways, like the Kachuk, like, yeah, he's not gonna get a hearing for that because I don't think he deserves it. Like honestly, it's just a penalty. It's a roughing penalty and whatever. It's a
it's
fighting
the
penalty.
playoffs,
But
man.
at the same
So
time,
yeah.
like to me, that needs to get stopped by the refs. Like that is just it's needless.
Yeah,
I get that it's entertaining. It's entertaining, and that's
it
probably what
is.
they're looking at. But it's like I don't want Marner throwing hands with Kachuk. I don't want him risking injury going up against a guy who's probably
Is it
like 10
entertaining
pounds.
though? Like how entertaining really is?
I'm
it,
sure.
though?
I'm
Like,
sure.
To me,
I don't know.
to
It's
some
yeah.
group people, but like I'm happy fighting is pretty much out of the game. I want to watch a sport. I mean, it's hockey. I want to watch hockey. Like I don't want to watch some
I
like
don't mind
off-brand.
fighting,
I don't
but
want to
it
watch an
needs to be
off-brand UFC.
yeah.
Like
It just
basically.
yeah. I don't want to see like the play like Bennett did to not like you don't want to see people hurt firstly, and
Yeah.
you don't want to see people getting punched when they aren't consenting to it. Like a fight in hockey should be two people being like, yeah, let's fight, and then they both drop the gloves. Like this bullshit where Stamkos jumps Matthews, and this bullshit where now Kachuk is just punching Marner in the face with his glove on. Not in the game. That shouldn't be a part of the game. Letting it go is just making it a part of the game, and it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We hit on
and
everything?
like, we can talk about that Gudis hit on Kampf. Do you
Yeah,
remember that?
I guess much of the same thing. I mean, that probably
was
should
just-
have been an interference
It
call.
probably yeah. It could
It
have
wasn't
been
a headshot. It wasn't overly dirty.
Yeah.
I mean, he just rocked the shit out of him. That's a
it could have been a
scary man,
boarding,
but,
and it was a bit of a late hit because the whistle was already gone like a second before.
like,
Um,
that should be an interference call at least.
it's funny that we just kind of came out with the only penalty out of that whole scrum. Like they didn't even call like offsetting roughings for other people. It was just like, all right, we take the one guy who did the infraction like a minute ago, and then the rest of you, that whole thing, totally legal. So,
if Camp had the
it is
puck
what it is.
and he got Gudis rocked him like that, I would have been like,
If the
okay,
whistle
cool,
hadn't
that was
gone,
a
it would have been
good-ass
fine.
hit. I'm like, that's a
If
good.
the whistle
ass
hadn't
hit,
gone, it
but-
would have been fine because he sort of had the puck, but
yeah.
the whistle went, and it was very loud, and it was easy to hear, and then he just absolutely demolishes him. Like it wasn't even.
He just rocked the shit out of him.
And
I
it
hope
was
he's
a
okay.
pretty dangerous. Yeah, he went away, but he came back. So
Oh, did he?
hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully it's okay. The
Yeah.
same thing happened with Nyes though. He came back for a shift and then.
Yeah.
But I don't think he hit his head, so it should be fine. Just yeah.
They just
And
gotta
we
play
also
dirty.
had
I mean, they got to match
Achari
the dirty.
injury scare as well. After the shot block, he went away, but
Came back.
yeah, it was a
It's the
hard
playoffs,
fought
man.
win.
Hard fought win. And man,
Yeah,
I wish it
and that's
came.
what we
I wish
need.
this was the win last game because then we wouldn't have the 3-1 hanging over us. It would have been a 2-1, and then it would be 2-2. Right, like going down that 3-0 is just it's a fucking mountain. But like, hey, look, stats are only useful to tell us about the past, right? Like
Yeah,
all
and
these stories, like of only 4 teams: the Kings, the Flyers, and the Islanders, and the Leafs in World War II. All those stories that only 4 having done it. I guess. I mean, my way of being sort of optimistic is that we don't know what could happen. The Leafs could win 4 straight games. Florida won 3 straight games on the Leafs. So
they technically won 6 straight.
Yeah,
Because they won
6
3 straight
games.
against
Yeah,
Boston.
you're right.
And
they did.
that was honestly a miracle as well. Like, we're talking about like miracles. Like Florida just did this.
It's
They
a
came back from a
weird
3-1
sport.
deficit.
Look, it's
a
a
weird
weird
sport,
sport,
yeah.
man. It's a weird
over them.
sport. Sports are crazy this year. Like, there's been some craziness even in the NBA playoffs. Like,
Yeah.
2 top seeds were jettisoned,
Which never
right? Like,
happens in the
The top
fucking
seed in
NBA.
Eastern Conference was lost to the 8th seed. There was some injury involved, but that, especially in the NBA, doesn't happen. So there's some strangeness going on in the air. I'll say that. But yeah, if we're, I think we got to everything. The game was a pretty low event game. We're happy to have another game over coming up. Hopefully not the last one. The Leafs crowd is going to be absolutely insane.
Friday. Back at home. This is
gotta be insane.
yeah.
It's
It's going to be a
insane.
very interesting start for the Leafs. I want to see them come out on fire at home.
Yeah, you
So-
can't. You let in the first. You got to get the first goal.
Yeah.
You can't chase the game.
But they played well. They played well
Yeah.
today. I will give them credit. I think they deserve the win and they got it. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll give them that. I'm still neutral on it. Like the way I go for it, I'm like, anytime someone goes down 3-0, like the Raptors went down 3-0 to the Sixers last year in the first round. And then when they got it to 3-1, I was like, I'm good. I went to a Blue Jays game when they went to game 5. But me and my friend were checking the score. And then we looked, and it was like the third quarter, and it was like 15 points. And the Blue Jays game was quick. So we ran to the Hoop Sports Bar there. And they won. Okay, and then I was in. I'm like, oh my God. 3-2, let's go. They got absolutely railroaded out of
yeah. I know that.
But when you get to 2,
yeah. And the nerves start to set. Like, you see the Panthers players constantly being like, oh, there's no pressure on us. There's pressure on you now. Like, regardless of whether or not you should have been here in the first place, every single team should close out a 3-0 series.
They got every single team. Down.
No matter
they're on the road.
Yeah, no matter the underdog level you are, if you're up 3-0 on a series, you should close it out. There is now pressure on Matthew Tkachuk and the rest of the Florida Panthers. And if they say there isn't, that's some bullshit. There is.
Listen, okay, so before we go, I'm going to say something. In the chat, it's still 110 of you left. Let me know. Make a bet. If the Leafs come back from 3-0 down and win this series, what are you going to do? Okay, you can either put it in the chat or you can tweet at me at Fouad Sports _sports. Tell me, or tweet at SDPN. Tweet at SDPN. What would you do if the Leafs actually did this thing?
In your case, it's painting yourself blue.
I'm gonna paint myself blue.
I blew myself.
Your move, everyone. Armaan, what are you gonna do? Shave your head.
I would. I straight up would. I've
you
done
would.
It before. Yeah,
Armaan's gonna shave his head. Armaan's gonna shave his head.
Okay, I guess it's decided.
Oh no, yeah, no, you can't do that. No, okay.
I would do it. I'd do
Here's
it.
What you do.
I'd do it.
I'm not gonna make you shave your head. If it becomes a game 7 for that stream, you only have a mustache now. That's
easy.
It. Done.
Deal.
All right, cool.
I'll have that
there
nice
you go.
Zach
Everybody,
game over Edmonton mustache.
I want to hear everybody else. All right. Somebody said, the Nutty Newfie said, I'll buy a Keith jersey. Jordan Mullen Hopkins, I'll get a vasectomy. Hey, you know what?
I hope you're not making those life decisions based on the Leafs.
Yo, if you're gonna get a vasectomy, you gotta that should already be decided. That should have already been decided. But I appreciate that. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for joining. We're so happy that we have life. We still have something to do. We still got Game Over Toronto. Still alive. My name is Fouad Suleiman for SDPN Game Over Toronto.
And my name is Armaan Panthaki, and you can find me at Armaan Panthaki on Twitter.
The show goes on.
Peace out.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.